I would tour these tech scale up companies and they looked so much fun. And, they were smaller, they were a little bit more intimate. And technology was very foreign to me. And I knew that's obviously where the world was going. And I wanted to learn more about technology, especially in the talent acquisition space. Not that I went looking for this opportunity came to me and it was interesting. And I was like, you know what? I want to take a break from agency and just explore the technology space and explore my selling skills because now I wouldn't have this big machine behind me. I would have a very unknown company that many people didn't know of, and then selling into a completely different market, which was mostly in the US and the UK. So
Mm.
let's see what I'm made out of here. Let's see if I push myself, I challenge myself. Let's see what I can accomplish. And so I put myself in a very unknown, uncomfortable territory, but I knew that I would always go back to agency, but I knew I needed this period of growth. And so I walked away from people leadership. I walked away from agency. I walked away from the world that I was exceptionally good at to something that I didn't know nothing of because I knew that I would grow tremendously. And that's what I do. I put myself in uncomfortable situations because to me, they're instant growth accelerators, whether you win or whether you lose. And
Okay,
those,
so sorry, let's touch on that quickly.
yeah,
So you get to Visage, you
yeah.
know that there are gaps and growth opportunities. Did you know where those gaps were immediately, or did you find out as you were going through? Like, you were probably using stuff that worked at Randstad that wouldn't work at Visage. That's usually how people test out what they're used to, what they're known for doing. I've got this big ass word salad going on right now, but you know what
Yeah.
I'm going with this, where it's like you try what you know on a different playing field to see whether or not
Yeah.
you can. Yeah, so you know where I'm going with that. So
Yeah, so I
where were
think
those
I
gaps?
think, I'd proven myself in the industry and I built obviously a reputable brand for myself. And now I was like relatively an unknown because because I primarily sell in the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area market, right? But, nationally across Canada. But now I was selling into the US, the UK. I sold into Dubai. I sold globally
Mm.
where
Oh, you had to reboot your reputational currency then.
a 100%.
You had to rebuild it for those new markets.
Correct, right? I had never sold in these markets, so they didn't know anything of me. So I didn't really have a very strong brand that I could rely on there. So one of the things that I walked away from that experience with it sharpened my selling skills, right? It really sharpened the way I sold to new individuals who knew nothing about me. I couldn't rely on my personal brand. I had to really go in cold and I was starting to do more content that was relatable to them and obviously start to connect and sort of build out those markets more. But it was tougher not having them not know who I was, right? So I
Mhm.
had to really sharpen my selling skills next level. And I had a sales coach at the time too. So when I was at Visage, they actually hired a phenomenal sales coach. So I walked away from that experience, like just really sharpening the way I sell and the way I build value for my clients.
And I imagine you were working odd hours too, because if you're servicing the Middle East and Europe, they're
Correct.
5 to 7 hours ahead of us depending on who you're speaking to.
Yeah, correct. So, and I had a direct report, and he lived in Venezuela at the time too. So, I mean, everybody was just really dispersed globally, and so you definitely had to work like different times, even just internally, to coordinate with others at the organization. So, yeah, it was a challenge in that respect, but yeah, I mean, I got to sell in global markets, and it was just a really strong learning experience for me.
I imagine a lot of the meetings you were taking were virtual.
Correct.
Okay, so going back to Randstad, I imagine a lot of those meetings, because it was a little bit more localized, were in person.
100%.
So I'm getting somewhere with it. I wanna say I've been selling since 2008, and my kryptonite were virtual calls
Yes,
until the pandemic came along, and I hunkered down and said, "Okay, I've gotta nail this because for the foreseeable future, this is the way my clients are gonna transact."
correct.
So, did you find that you had that challenge as well? Because 'Cause you'd spent all this time building all this goodwill in person, and now you've gotta do it through a monitor with someone who might be 4 or 5, 6 time zones away from you.
Huge disconnect for me. And even from a cultural perspective, like because we were all fully remote, and we
Mm.
would have offsites, right? And the offsites were fantastic. Like I went to so many great conferences in like Vegas, right? Which is always a blast. They have a lot of tech conferences there, but it was that connection that I missed. with my clients, but also with fellow employees that I worked with, like my colleagues. Like I value that tremendously. And, I like going into the office. I like the people I work with. I like to learn from them. I like to grow from them. I like that feeling, that energy. And it's the same, obviously, from the client side. So in my role right now, I love because a lot of my clients or corporate offices are in downtown Toronto, and they're
Mm.
literally around the corner from our downtown office in Randstad. I love just like I'll come over. I'm like a few minutes, just down the street, and I am very much an in person connector.
Yeah, do you find that that works a lot better though? Like that works with your style way more than, virtual, even though we're dealing now with hybrid and remote work, even though you're around the corner from most of your clients still?
But I have clients that are in 2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours away, and I'll drive out to see them.
Mm,
It's not an
okay.
issue for me because I know that nothing beats face to face. Nothing.